Hello and welcome to this episode of The Inner Estate with your host, Bridget Stuart. Our guest today is Alicia Shepherd. Alicia, thank you so much for being with us today.
And Bridget, thanks for having me in. I'm so excited to be here. When you called and made the ask if I would have this convo with you, couldn't have imagined saying no. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm so glad you're here as well. And you and I are going to discuss a topic that is near and dear to me, and that is different variations on theme of the power of saying yes and being open and alert to opportunity and knowing, you know, when is that next opportunity, your next big win? So, can you share with everyone, what does that mean to you? What does saying yes and seeing opportunity mean to you?
Man, okay, so I'm gonna go back a little bit because
I'd
I
love
think
that.
saying yes for me has been an evolving journey across the past five years and 9 months and 2 weeks. I can tell you why I know that to the date for a
Okay.
reason.
Okay.
Across that timeline, it has been an evolving journey because every time I think that I have hit the biggest moment of chaos in my life, the biggest moment of managing all that I could possibly manage, the biggest moment of I'm busting at the seams of opportunity. If I put one more thing on my plate, I'm going to lose control of everything. That always seems to be the exact moment that the next incredible opportunity I've been waiting for finds me.
Right.
And I've had to learn through this journey how to find the courage to say yes and trust that in doing so, I'm becoming the lifter of my own lid. And I
Well, I
think
like
that
that.
if there's any message we could get through today and kind of unpack, it would be how do you become the very hand that lifts the lid off of your pot that's boiling over?
That's amazing. And how could you share with everyone? How do you know so specifically the time when you had clarity around this?
Yeah. And I fibbed. It's actually 5 years, 6 months and 2 weeks. It's
2 weeks.
because we
Okay.
had triplets during COVID,
Yes, you did.
and they turned 5 2 weeks ago. And you go, wait, Alicia, it would have been 9 months, right? No, because a triplet pregnancy for us lasted 6 months. So
Right.
at the moment when the rest of the world was figuring out like, hot dang, we're gonna get to live in our jammies for a few weeks. And we're all
But we
like
might
learning
not
what
have toilet
PPP
paper.
was gonna be. Yeah, everyone's like trying to
Yeah.
beat each other on Amazon to the online bidet for the first time. And like we're all trying to get like Amazon rush orders figured out. My husband and I were the crazy kids that did a embryo transplant literally or transfer on the day that Los Angeles shut down. And we did it just trusting that it was going to be okay. Our doctors told us, we heard LA is getting shut down. You can pass or you can go. And we don't know what your medical care is going to be. And at the time, we were transferring two embryos. We were hoping we would end up pregnant with one
Mhm.
a child, and we wound up fortunate enough to end up pregnant with two. And within 6 weeks, we found out that those
Surprise!
two were splitting and had become three. And I mean, the story of that pregnancy is a whole separate chaotic tale of its own for a different
Right.
day. However, when the girls were born, my water broke at 28 and at 28 weeks. And that night, they were born the next day. We go into NICU, and that was the exact moment when KW calls me. That's the brokerage that I'm with, and they start saying, we have these task forces. We're trying to figure out what's going on with commercial. And I go, well, I'm sitting around. I'm spending a lot of time sitting in NICU for the next few months. Like,
Right.
game on, let's go. And so that became just a journey that I participated with. And it was an opportunity that was like birthing two things at once for me. And as things evolved and grew, then came an opportunity to grow companies in the commercial real estate space for transaction coordination. We already had a training company that during COVID blew up like crazy because people needed training, right? They went back to the
Yes.
roots and to how do I
Yes.
improve my real estate career to go somewhere. And so our commercial real estate training company, Nucleus, we went from training anywhere from 100 200 agents per year to 1,000 overnight. I mean, it literally, we needed to figure out how to train online and in the masses very quickly, and we pivoted and did that. That became a thing, and that was massive growth. And so we didn't just birth 3 humans that year, we birthed multiple companies, and
Right.
we took on leadership roles. And I say we because my husband and I plan our companies together.
Mhm.
And it was this very chaotic, probably 18 months where every single time we felt the, like, percolating of opportunity starting to boil over, and, like, we were getting stretched to the extremes of our capabilities to manage, capabilities to lead, capabilities to hold our shit together. It just was right there at the cusp, and we either would have the right next human come into our world that was going to alleviate the pressure valve so we could say yes to the next opportunity, or we
Mhm.
were having the next opportunity show up on our doorstep that by saying yes to that gave us the revenue source so that we could grow and improve all of our systems and pieces. And it built this really beautiful foundation of trust that, it was a really interesting lesson where I was watching my faith evolve as I watched my children grow in NICU. I mean, they went from being these newborn babies that were under 2 pounds. I mean,
Wow.
smaller than, their bodies were shorter than your iPhone, you know? They looked
Wow.
like iPhones with bobbleheads on them. They were so tiny and fragile, and your faith does something really incredible watching that experience where they go from this very tiny, fragile thing to this normal, healthy baby you take home, and you watch just how resilient these NICU nurses and doctors are that
Right.
see this day in and day out, and they're totally chill
Right.
around it, and suddenly, the paperwork around a real estate transaction seems a little less like something you should lose your cool over.
Yes.
And yeah, and so I was watching my resolve and my faith firm up over here, and it just taught me to trust that every time I felt that stretchiness coming, the more I opened my heart and my eyes to the next opportunity to present itself, it would. And that when it did, it was my responsibility to say yes to it.
To
When it
say
did, it
yes.
was
Right.
my responsibility to have the courage to look at it and to decide that I was worthy of taking that next step, and that it wasn't anyone else's work to do but mine. And the
I
minute
think
I got
that's really
clarity on that, life
remarkable.
got really fun.
That's amazing. It's amazing. And on top of the triplets, you also have a son that's older, correct?
Yeah, we have the coolest little boy. I mean, our triplet chicklets are so much fun. They're very awesome. It also takes a very awesome, humble, incredibly brave, and self-secure little boy to have 3 little girls come home and for him to be the most confident, awesome big brother possible, and he is. He is a very cool big bro. He is an awesome son. We're very grateful for all 4 of our kids. Yes.
Well, I'm going to rewind kind of like you did. So you mentioned this opportunity coming while you're in NICU with these 3 beautiful small iPhone with bobblehead babies, and Keller Williams Realty reached out to you and said, "Hey, we're doing task forces about commercial." So let's step back because some people might be saying, like, why are they calling that lady? So you had already established yourself as an, I'm going to say, as an industry expert, certainly from what I knew at the time in our region. Even though both of us have now moved away, we
Yeah,
actually used to be down the hall from each other
that's
in Pacific
right.
Palisades,
Yeah.
California. So they reached out to you because you had really developed a level of expertise and professionalism in commercial real estate. So, could you share a little bit about how that even came about? How did you become an expert in, and you still are in the industry now, even outside of Southern California, an industry expert in commercial real estate? How did that come about?
That's an interesting, it's my second career. My career before commercial real estate was as a musician. I was a full-time musician. I worked as a staff songwriter. I toured for years in that role. It was a role though that I never really got out of that, like, B-roll songwriter. You know what I mean? I wasn't like the
Did
front
you say you
album.
were a staff songwriter?
Yeah, staff songwriter. That's like a gig where you actually are like on retainer by a label. You get like you're essentially on like the front end of the line of getting the right to, like, get the heads up. Here's the list of what we are looking for these artists who have songs on their albums.
Well,
And
I'm going
so
to mark the calendar right now. And as much as I am into music, I did not know that that was a career or a position. So thank you. I learned
I don't
something
know that
new.
it would be anymore. Part of why
Okay.
I'm no longer in that career is I started looking up and hearing words like YouTube and Spotify start to
Mhm.
be real. And as I watched that, and my colleagues and I watched that, those of us, if unless you're on a writing team for someone massive and
Massive,
you
right.
are a very prominent, well-known songwriter who is earning their credits on their songwriting,
Mhm.
you weren't really in a position to have control of your career. The label controlled it. And so
Right.
as you saw that happen, you went, well, my role's not going to last a lot longer because people can get exposure for themselves, right?
Yes.
Now songwriters who are like me can just go put their own stuff out there. We don't have to go through the labels anymore, which was great. And it meant that my role was evolving. And so I looked up one day and I knew that that was going to be a change. And I started also meeting my husband at that point in time, and touring was losing its appeal because of that. And so I wanted to get something that allowed me to keep my feet in one place a little bit longer. And I ended up hearing about a job opportunity in a yoga class, and I went after it, and it was working with a woman in the very office that you and I worked down the hall from each other in, as her assistant. And that was how I got into commercial real estate. Her name was Heidi, and she sold apartment buildings.
But that's
And
right.
I
Yeah.
started as her assistant, and that was on a commercial real estate team. And I sat in that seat for a little over a year and a half, and as I
Mhm.
started feeling myself really get into a groove in it and hit my earning potential, like hitting that ceiling, again, I probably started learning the lesson of have the courage to say yes earlier than I realized. I knew that if I wanted to earn more, I just had to get my license and go do the prospecting side of the job. Because I
Right.
watched the agents on my team who were making more money than I was, and I said, "The only part they're doing that I'm not is getting a relationship with the client." And I do the whole back end of the deal. They're not touching that piece. If I just went and got my license, I could have unlimited earning potential. So I
Yes.
took that step, and that's how I got into commercial real estate as a broker.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
And so
I mean,
when was
it's
that again?
very male-dominated industry. It's
It
female.
is.
Yeah.
That's why and Heidi also was phenomenal in her own right, and also was, cutting ribbons or breaking ceilings or whatever you wanna call it in Southern California in the apartment game. What year give us just an idea of what year that was. So when did you
17
make that
years back.
shift?
I've been in
Okay.
real estate for 17 years as of
Yeah.
2025. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Excellent.
been a hot second, and I mean, I feel very fortunate that I found this industry. I'm well engineered for it because I'm a high driver, I'm very type A, I'm very competitive. It's great for that type of personality if you're a woman. I'm really good with the analytic, the number, and the business portion side of this.
Yes.
It's not necessarily something you think about when you say, I want to go get a real estate license. But commercial real estate is ideal for that person that wants to be in a sales business and wants to be in real estate, but doesn't really love the idea of decor and like house design. Like for me,
That's right.
I don't think that's where my strengths lie. But I always was attracted to the career potential of real estate, but I knew that my strengths didn't lie in what I witnessed a lot of people in real estate do around single family homes. Yeah.
Yes, there is a dramatic difference in both the relationships, the conversations, and the niche areas of expertise that you usually develop. Residential and commercial are pretty dramatically different, and then land is a whole other
Whole other
other
a whole
thing,
other
right?
animal. Yeah. Yeah.
But it's one of the reasons why I love our chosen industry is that so many people can come to our industry with different backgrounds, skills, desire, interest, passion, and there's something for everyone as long as you're willing to realize that it's not like they portray it on TV. It's actually work, and sometimes you have to do things you may not necessarily think you want to do to make it happen.
Well, and
Other than
that's the
that, you can
very
do it.
first yes you have to have the courage to go into, right? We
Yes.
get into the business, you got your salesperson's license. Again, trained over 1,000 agents. I do 1,000 a year at this point. They come in for day one and they have this persona or this idea of what the job is going to look like. And they sit down and
Right.
one of the first things they say is, well, I don't want to have to be too salesy though. And I say,
Yeah.
pull out your license. What is on that license? It's a salesperson's license. The job is a
Correct.
sales job, which by the
Right.
way, most jobs are. There's a if you're in any
Absolutely.
career and you find yourself struggling, I tell people all the time, I even some of my friends who are in non-sales roles, tell them, "Go read the book To Sell Is Human by Daniel Pink," because
Yes.
that
I
gets
love
you
that one.
really clear that no matter what career field you're in, you are a salesperson, and that's
Well,
just part of life.
I will even add to it almost in any relationship you're in.
That's right.
Who are the master salespeople? Toddlers from about the age of 3 to kids the age of 9. I mean, they sell us on things all the time,
Whether
but
you
it's
wanted to or
even in
not,
when you
yeah.
want it to or not, yeah.
They're
So
worse
it's
than the guys at the gym. Yeah, 100%,
they are,
100%.
or the timeshare.
Yeah.
Yeah, they so yeah, when you think about it and you just change that perspective and understand that the greatest salespeople in our lives have actually had the biggest impact on our overall net worth, our financial security, our safety. So it's like if you're right, if you can get people to step away from whatever stigma or negative thought they have around it to embrace it and say, I'm going to change people's lives by what I'm going to do.
Well, I mean,
I think it
you
makes a big difference.
genuinely can, especially when you start looking into assets in the commercial space. And this is where I think, I got so passionate when I was building our training company, Nucleus, because I as I came up in commercial real estate, I had a little bit of like a beef with it early on. I deeply struggled with what I saw as the norm. What I saw in the norm at the brokerage I started at was you look up, you look around. I'm going to call it for what it is. There's an avatar in this industry that is the stereotype. And it's just that like young, waspy, like rich, white, young dude. And like that's who you're supposed to be if you're gonna succeed in my chosen field, right? And I always thought that that just was a horrible outcome because that meant that mass amounts of wealth that get transferred through real estate, generation over generation, were staying in these closed circles. And when I had my investment properties in West Adams in Mid City, and we're walking our family around like the neighborhood in the evenings, and I see the families out watering their lawns, or I see the business owners like closing their shops in the evenings, you see Hispanic families and Black families, and it would just sit with me. Those owners were missing the opportunity and the flat out respect or the right to have a broker that showed up that understood what a day in their life felt like.
Right.
That's a damn shame because when someone from my firm would show up to talk about their real estate with them, that broker wasn't showing up to advocate for why that neighborhood should pour back into the hands of someone from that neighborhood. They were coming to pour into why that neighborhood should go into the hands of someone from their neighborhood and to, go into a wealthy developer, go into the hand of, someone that's going to come in and gentrify, which I don't think gentrification is always a bad word. But I
Right.
do think that we've got to have a lot of heart and empathy for the families that have built businesses and homes in communities. If commercial real estate, if I looked up and I had beef with it, I looked in the mirror one day and I said, well, darling, it's your job to do something about it then. And so I built Nucleus, and I really take to task that I have the responsibility to train more minorities and more women and more people from different backgrounds every single year to change that outcome and to make sure that those owners the next go round do have someone that understands their life, do have someone that can come back in and say, here's how you're going to set yourself up financially so that you
Yes.
you you can keep this in the family, or that you are passing this down, or that you own the property you are running your business in instead of rent that property, right? So
Yes.
that changes that narrative and starts sharing the wealth into other circles. And that for me is probably where like the biggest first courageous yes had to come from. And once I tackled that one, all of the other ones felt easier because our companies support that mission that is really important to me.
Right. And it's funny when you look big picture at the real estate industry. Something that was always interesting to me is this great divide because in residential, it for the last 50 years, it's been the opposite story where actually today as we speak in real estate, the average residential realtor is female, 59, and in commercial, it was, as you mentioned, very dominated by men.
Yeah, we used to be 11% female. We're up to 15, 16%, which for a
Right.
change since COVID, we were at 11 and now we're at like 15, 16. That's a massive change in 4 to 5 years.
That is a big change. Yeah,
That's
it
a big
really
thing.
is.
Yeah.
It really is. And that, so it's, yeah, it's always fascinating to me. By the way, one other side note, our industry also, especially with residential, has the highest average age of any significant industry in our country.
Isn't that
Isn't that
interesting?
funny?
I always
Yeah.
wonder, is that because it's more people in a second career or because it's like an enjoyable career that people stay in longer? Or is it because real estate agents didn't like plan for retirement, maybe it's a combination of all
I
three?
think it's a
Yeah.
combination. I actually have a theory on it as well. Because I stay, even though I do a little bit with commercial, I am much more in luxury, residential, and horse
Yeah,
properties.
I've always known you, especially for your luxury touch. You've had a really, really great touch there.
Yeah, so it's one of my theories is a lot of the boomer agents and the Gen X agents hit the recession, and
Mm,
even the ones that had been financially like secure in savings and retirement, as well as, however they had diversified, which for most of us also included some real estate. Coming through the recession, most of us were not unscathed
yeah,
by that experience. So I do think that some of the older agents had to take the decade to rebuild
yeah,
post
that
recession. So
would
I do think
totally
that
make sense.
there's probably some of that rising tide that it is a direct result of what we went through in the recession. I know it took me longer than I thought it would to rebuild. I did make it through the recession intact, meaning staying in real estate, but was not unscathed. But I think that's part of it. But I also believe what you said is true. When you learn how to do it and you understand what the job is, it's actually pretty fun. It's like fun and it's very
I
people
have a
oriented
colleague, I
and,
mean,
you
she
know,
knew her husband was terminally he had COPD. She's in her 70s, and she stays in as a coach because she's like, "What else am I gonna do? This is
yeah,
fun. What else would I spend my days doing?" And I mean, we're so fortunate to have her in as a coach. And I mean, the agents that get to coach with her to have, 35, 40 years worth of experience sitting in the shotgun seat coaching with you in your business, like what fortunate agents. And, like, I count her lucky stars that she keeps wanting to play all in 'cause many people would look up at it at that point and be like, "No, I'm done." But she looks up
right,
and goes,
right.
"What else would I do all day?"
What would I do?
Yeah.
And it's always changing the technology, the dynamics, the laws, the contracts. So if you think about it, it's a way to retain youthfulness because you're constantly learning. So anyway, that's a
Yeah.
yeah. You'll have to come back
In
twice.
case
We
you're
have to have a
looking for
whole
your 3rd
episode about
career
the
audience.
kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we have to have one about like delay aging by staying in real estate. Yeah, so many things we could talk about. I So it's awesome that you're making these breaking through and being part of that leading surge of more women getting into commercial and really making a significant name for yourself. Having these beautiful children and your family. And I do have one question. I don't know if it's too personal. So, with your triplets, is it a case where there's two that are identical and then the other? Are they all, how did that work out?
That's a great question. So, we have 2 identicals and 1
Mhm.
fraternal. We actually have the
Okay.
the best little word puzzle for, like, our family. We have our let me figure out how to break this down. I have had 2 pregnancies. We have 4 children. I have 1 child that was born on their own. I have a set of twins, and I have a set of triplets.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah.
So by the time, like, you run that math in your head, you're like, "Wait a minute." Like, people kind of piece all that together. It all, like, wraps
I
up in a
followed
nice
it.
little puzzle.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we
Right.
have twins, we have triplets, we have a singleton,
Right.
and yeah, it's all worked out. Been fun to watch too, because the identicals and our fraternal daughter, they are they are very close and tight, and they are a tight little, like, trio. We call them the triplet
Hmm.
chiclets. But the identicals can be sitting on separate sides of the room, and they will physically sometimes mirror each other, whatever they're
Isn't that funny?
doing, one of them will like physically be doing something, the other starts doing the same thing, and they're not watching each other. But my
Mhm.
husband and I will just kind of like tap each other on the arm, like, do you see it? Do you see it?
Right, it's happening again.
Like, yeah, yeah. And you can tell that there is something between them that is wired together.
Mhm.
It doesn't happen like all the time, but it happens at least like 4 or 5 times a month. We'll witness that. So there's something cross wires on those two. It's cool.
When will they be in 1st grade?
They're in pre-K right now, so next year they'll do
Okay,
kindergarten, and the year after that they'll
and then
move
they'll do
into,
the okay.
yeah.
Well, jumping back to our main concept of saying yes, um, give us some more examples. So now we went back to in the NICU, getting the call to be on the task force and developing even more with commercial, starting your training company specifically in commercial real estate. We went further back even to how did you move from being that staff songwriter to getting into real estate. So you've said yes a lot of times along the way. Now let's move further up in the timeline. So when did you see again that you had the amazing opportunity to lift your own lid by saying yes? Like what came after that?
I mean, now I'm sitting at a point we have 13 companies. One of those is the first step of many for a large hospitality project we want to work on.
Okay.
Can't let the whole cat out of the bag, but
Right.
we've got like a large vision in this region of Texas that we have. And the very first step is we have bought a roadhouse. And the roadhouse kind of turned into something more.
Do you mean Roadhouse like Patrick Swayze style Roadhouse?
Roadhouse. Yeah.
Oh, I
Okay.
love that.
So catch this. There's this show called Blocks, Blox. I'm last November. I was on Blocks and I was off being filmed on it. I'm actually on the next season that's coming up.
Okay.
I think it's season 19. And so I was filming it. And while I'm filming it, my real estate agent texted me, hey, the Roadhouse in Burton went on the market. You got to buy it. And for our vision, for our project, I did have to buy it. Like that is the biggest piece of real estate we had to get control of to do what we want to do out of the
Right.
commercial assets. There's land assets too, but out of the commercial assets. So I was like, yeah, we got to get an offer in. So we go under contract. And again, everything's percolating, everything's going bananas. And my husband and I look at each other, we're like, are we really doing this? Like, we weren't ready for this project to start for another like 2 years. Maybe someone else will buy it and we'll just like wait for them to like get tired of it and put it back on the market. Nothing else is really going on in the region. It'll be fine. We can buy it later. And the week that we were about to pull out of escrow, my grandfather passed away. Bless his soul. He was in his
Oh.
90s. We knew it was coming. Um,
Mhm.
and he was very ready to go. My grandmother had passed a few years previous. And I read his obituary. And the very first line of his obituary, Orvie Lee Ludeman, born and raised in Burton, Texas. Now, this property's
Wow.
in Burton, Texas. And when I say Burton, Texas, Bridget, let me tell you, Burton, Texas is exactly halfway between Houston and Austin on Highway 290, and it is population 297 people.
Right.
So when I read it, I get like chills on my arms because I'm literally like, we are about to like back out of this. We have picked this like location for this like massive project we want to undertake.
Right.
There's no way in hell he was born and raised in Burton, Texas, and I did not know this. That like
I was going to
how
ask if you
serendipitous. So I call
so
my
you didn't
aunt and I'm
know.
like, there's no way. She's like, yes, he was. He's born and raised. And I start looking into it, and sure enough, he was like born just a few properties over from this one. He worked in like the town garage growing up. So then I'm like, okay, this is again like the universe conspiring for like for where I'm going. Yes, we are all in.
Absolutely.
So then I start like really getting my creative energies turned on, and I feel called to not just own this roadhouse, which initially we were just going to own the roadhouse and like lease it. Now I'm like, screw that. We are going after this thing. We're going to turn it not just into a cool thing, we are going to make it the most iconic acoustic music venue in the United States. Like, we are going somewhere like between Hotel Cafe and Bluebird Cafe in Nashville, and we are going to make it really flipping cool. And right now we're working on the design of the stage.
Okay.
I'm literally sewing a patchwork quilt denim curtains that go on the back. and we're building out this
Wow.
really cool mosaic for the front of the stage, and we're going to bring in really cool sound. The approach for it is what we want it to be, like old school ACL concerts, like when they would sit down and do the like PBS like recordings on style recordings where it's like a listening room and
Yes.
like you see the
Yes.
like, close in like like quiet audience acoustic concerts. We want
Mhm.
that because it's a 220 person capacity space. And I want to be able to bring in someone amazing. Like Noah Khan is touring all over the United States right now, and he's amazing. I want that guy to come in and sit down and play an acoustic set in order to,
Right.
and for everyone to be on the edge of their lawn chair, because I'm going to bring ribbon lawn chairs in and have that
Okay.
be chairs inside.
Oh, that's awesome.
And you could drop a pin between his breaths and everyone would hear it. You know what I mean? And just have it be a
I think
really
it sounds
special,
phenomenal.
iconic spot. So, I mean, the courage to say yes, that's where like, I think there's three types of courage you have to have, right? And I think it breaks down into three really clear lanes. The first is your personal courage, which I think to have the other two, you have to build this one first. And that's where you just really identify who the heck you decide you're going to be. And you get really clear that you are going to claim that identity and you are going to show up that way and you are going to own your voice. And for the longest time, I kept trying to be this like paper doll avatar of what I was supposed to be in commercial real estate
Mhm.
that had this like, you know, the long, straight conservative hair. It was red, but it wasn't the red that I wanted. And it was, you know, I wore the corporate suits and the da da da,
Mhm.
and like I showed up the way I was supposed to show up, but I never felt like me. And over time, I
Right.
just got more and more comfortable in my own skin. And it was literally just maybe like 6 months ago, one of my coaching clients referred to me as a gothic fairy. And
Aw,
it was like, of course,
that's the
that's
nicest thing
it.
anyone has ever
That's
said to me.
exactly what I wanna be. That's me. And it just hit. And that was when I really felt like I not only knew how I wanted to show up, but I knew, like, what to call it. And then I was really able to go find, like, the wardrobe for it and the identity and, you know, instead of, like, shying away from how I talk and how I show up authentic, I call my kids hot sauce, and I tell them, "Buckle up, buttercup," when I'm putting them in the car. And I lean into that with the people that are in my communities that I coach and that I teach and that I train.
Right.
And so
Right.
I just really lean into my own voice. And I would encourage anybody that wants to challenge themselves to lean into their own courage, to be recklessly authentic and to not worry what someone else is going to think about that because other people's thoughts are none of your damn business.
That's right. Exactly right.
Yeah. And so that's the first courage. The second two, I think kind of intertwine, but I think that they sit separately. The second is your professional courage. And that is your courage to launch, to pitch, to sell, or to step in to anything that you believe is in pursuit of changing the world through your career path, through the work that you do and the legacy you leave behind through the work that you do with intentionality. Because what
Yes.
we wake up and go in pursuit of every single day, whether you get paid or not, that is your professional footprint. Like
I
I
love
have
the way you said
a
that.
woman that I know that's a stay-at-home mom, and we were just talking one day while our kids were playing in the pool, and she was like, "Well, I'm just a stay-at-home mom," and I said, "That's a garbage idea. Like you have a
That's right.
professional footprint because you serve in our neighborhoods, you serve at the school." You show
Schools.
up at charitable things. Your husband has a large like professional role and you support him in that, like you're the gal that's getting the shit done around the neighborhood. Well, those gals like me that like I'm never on the PTA, like you help keep it together so my kid can have some of the things that they have in the school.
That's right. Yeah.
That's your professional footprint. And she had this like light bulb go off. And your professional footprint is not about if you're getting paid or not. It's the work that you do in the day that impacts the world. And you have to have the courage to make sure that that's in pursuit of something that when you're at the end of days, you look up and you go, I'm proud of the work that I did.
Yes.
And that's really important. And that might intertwine with your creative courage. And I think this is where you really get to decide what this looks like independently if it sits with your professional courage. But your creative courage is where you are going to have your expression and your legacy. And you got to be willing to risk failure for the sake of expression and legacy. Go make a damn mess, and who gives a shit what happens along the way. But have fun and be playful. You want to paint, paint. You want to draw, draw. If your version of creativity is to build something, build. If it's to grow a
Build it.
garden, grow a garden. If it's to decorate your home or your clients' homes, do that. But all of us have something that is our version of putting color in this world. And
Yes,
it would be a damn shame to not share that. And so
I agree.
you've got 3 different buckets of courage to play with. And I think that so many times we think courage can only be like the kind of brand that puts on a superhero cape or that gets
Right.
a title.
Right.
And that can feel really exhausting. And I think you get to decide like which of your buckets feels ready to share courage that day. And it's not always all 3. There's days I want to stay on my jams and just like knit for the day. And that felt really great. Well, to test out a new knitting pattern might have been my courageous act for the day. And that's fine.
Right.
That was enough. That was enough.
Can you repeat the 3? So repeat the 3 again.
Yes. It goes your personal courage. And
Yes.
that's really going to be just being your authentic self, your professional courage. And that is the work that you do in your days that are the impact you make in the world, and your creative courage. And that's your expression and your legacy that happens through that. Yeah.
I think that's fantastic.
When you play with those, your lid gets lifted every single time. Every single time. I've learned, I keep learning. It's one of those lessons. I will be sad if I ever hit a point where I stop relearning this lesson, because I
Right.
think that you stop leveling up if you stop this one. I keep relearning that it's my own hand that needs to lift the lid. You can't
Yes.
wait for someone else to lift your lid for you. But I think you're not at your ceiling if someone else's hand is picking up the lid, right? You're not
It's
really at your ceiling. Someone else might be calling it your ceiling, but you're not really there. You're not really there.
That's right. And I think that is so critical. And something I have not shared yet, even with you, is I decided to lift my own lid and I have launched my own coaching company.
Let's go.
So October 1 was our first official day.
It's
And
October
so
2. I'm catching you on day
I
2. How's
know
it going so far?
it's going great. It's been a great
Excellent.
18 hours or however long it's been, but and I wasn't necessarily, I thought, well, should I share that here or not? But I just want to tell you, each time you keep saying you have to lift your own lid and you have to say yes, and you have to have that personal and professional courage. I felt compelled to share it because I feel like you were speaking what I have been living and am living right now today. And you had no
Mm.
idea about any of that.
Isn't that funny? We hit the messages we're supposed to hit for reasons.
I
Like we
agree.
we
I
run into the
agree.
voices that are talking to us when we're supposed to. I had a similar one earlier today. Where a lady around me was having a conversation and I was like, I needed to hear that today. Thank you. She doesn't know what's going on in my world, but like I needed to hear that today. And sometimes you just need that one sentence and it catches you and you're like, that was what my ears woke up for today.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I like to ask you, let's say that someone is out there listening to the two of us discuss this and they're like, I hadn't thought about courage in that way. And I hadn't, maybe I'm saying no too much. What would you recommend if someone is listening to us talk and they're feeling unfulfilled or they're feeling unsatisfied in their profession or they are feeling that they are living that paper doll avatar and they're
Mhm.
not being congruent with themselves? What is a first step action that you believe someone could take that would make a difference they would feel
Right away.
pretty quickly? Maybe not right away, but fairly quickly. What's something that could be so impactful that anyone listening to us could do?
Yeah. This one's not delicate,
Okay.
because I think if you're feeling those things, delicate actions aren't gonna move you. Delicate actions are gonna just kind of put a little bit of a whitewash over it, and then you're gonna go to bed and wake up tomorrow and still kind of feel some of that same thing, and that's not
Right.
gonna move you. So I would strongly encourage you to go stand in front of a mirror. And if you need to like take this podcast there with you, go get in front of a mirror and go stand in front of it And I want you to stand in front of the mirror and literally stand and look yourself in the eyes for 60 seconds straight. And while you're looking yourself in the eyes, I want you to just listen to something for a minute. I want you to look at those eyes and think for a second. Is the person that you're looking at someone who truly, authentically has given themselves permission to show up fully? Have you really, truly given yourself permission to unapologetically be comfortable in every ounce of your own skin? If there is a voice that is waking up right now that says no, I want you to listen really closely to that voice and ask yourself, whose voice is that really? And I want you to keep looking in that mirror for a second and ask, what would be the one thing I would ask that person to believe about me right now if they were standing here with me? And before you move forward and move into massive action or go into massive judgment, I want you to tell yourself you're friggin' awesome, because you are, because that's not an easy exercise. And it's one that when you do it really deeply and really authentically, more times than not, you're going to hear a voice that probably comes from very early periods of childhood, from
Yes.
very early moments in life. It can be siblings, it can be parents, it can be very early childhood friends, it can be earlier versions of yourself, and that can
Yes.
be real friggin' tough. And the second thing that you need to go do is sit down and journal about what you are feeling from that. From there, you have a decision to make. And this goes back to the courage to say yes, but it's really that courage for your personal self. Because to claim your personal identity, you have to be willing to have an honest conversation with yourself. And the first honest conversation is, hey, am I the one allowing myself to be me? Or am I the one telling myself no? Because while you are putting someone else's voice or name or words on top of what you just heard while you looked in the mirror, darling, those were your thoughts and those were your words and those were your feelings. And so you got to get really clear. Why are you the one telling yourself no? And either a therapist or a coach can walk you through that, maybe both. But the next step would be to reach out and find a therapist or a coach that you could sit down and do some of that work with.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you and I both know, as coaches, because you're also a coach,
It's not a one-time
that
conversation.
it's not a one-time conversation, and we both know what is possible when you open yourself up and say yes to that.
Yeah, man. I
When you
mean,
say yes
when
to
I
that.
started really exploring the ownership, that the voice in my head that made me feel like someone else was speaking to me from previous eras of my life, that's me.
It's
And
you,
that was
yes.
really me not accepting myself. Getting through that work is not easy, but getting through it was life-changing, and it changed this life that I'm sitting in right now and created incredible opportunities. It brought an incredible relationship into my world, and I mean, it flipped things on its head for the most incredible ways. I can't even imagine. And doing that work is something that takes a lot of courage to start the process.
Yes. Absolutely. It really
Be
does.
gentle with
And
yourself. It might take a couple of times and nudging yourself to make the choice to do it.
right. And you probably have a similar situation. I have a lot of clients that actually have a coach and a therapist. And the thing that's
Yeah.
funny is every once in a blue moon, I'll be like, hey, how's it going with Betty Lou? And vice versa. So sometimes they'll tell me, my therapist asked if how I was engaging with what we were working on. So it is anyone listening, it's okay to have both or have
Yeah.
one.
I
Yeah.
think
But it
I
is
have both.
amazing.
Transparently, I have both. 'Cause that you if you're growing and evolving, you're always uncovering new pieces that you wanna do the work on.
That's right. You're a I call it a stone in the tumbler. Like you just want to keep
What a
polishing,
great way to think about it.
yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want to emerge as that beautiful stone, keep working on it.
Yeah.
Well,
Great way to think
that
about it.
is an amazing exercise. And I think what I'll do too is transcribe it and put it in the description. So if anyone
Awesome.
wants those questions, then they can actually read it as well as hear it. But I think that that's an awesome way that someone could take that first step, and it could have a much bigger impact than they realize.
Yeah, I don't say it lightly. That could be a life-changing moment, a life-changing 60 seconds.
So I'm going to rapid fire some questions at you, which I didn't tell you I was going to do.
Bada bing, bada boom.
Okay, so someone just heard us talking and they were like, well, I'm blank years old, so it's too late for me.
I'm 43 and I'm on my second career. I just told you I got a colleague that is in her 70s and still coaching. It's never too late.
It's never too late. Exactly right.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's never too late.
That's some stinking thinking, as a dear mentor of mine would say.
Yeah. This is probably the same answer, but just in case someone is thinking it. You know what? I'm just so set in my ways and there's no way I can change.
Well, that's your thinking. Yeah. I mean, if you don't want to change, no one's making you. You hear yourself saying out loud, I'm so set in my ways, there's no way I will change. I think people who catch themselves saying that out loud are begging someone to stop them.
I think you're right. I
Yeah,
hadn't
they
thought
just
of it in that
haven't
way, but I think you're right.
they haven't met someone stubborn enough to stick with it yet. Come find me. I got you.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's never too late. And if you decide within yourself that you will do it, you could be a hard-boiled, I'll say New Yorker. I love New Yorkers, by the way. My immigrant grandparents settled there. But like you could be hard-boiled. And if you decide within yourself that you're going to lift your own lid and you're going to say yes, I don't care how old you are or how
Then you
set
do it.
you are, you can do it. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I also like to think about what are easy ways for people to start reflecting on this in a deeper manner. And I wanted to share one other thing that I've done, and I'd love for you to think of something comparable so we can swap off, giving it one more bit of action that people can take. There is a movie with Jim Carrey called Yes Man. And I for several years I watched that movie about twice a year. When COVID hit, I watched it 3 to 4 times a year. And even now, I still watch that movie at least once a year, not quite as much. And I don't know if you've seen it, but if anyone has not seen it, it is a hyperbolic version of what you and I are talking about, where someone who was saying no all the time they go to a speaking event, like an event with a
I
speaker.
think I've seen
And
this.
then,
As you're
yeah,
talking about, I
and
think I've seen this
the
movie. Yeah,
guy
yeah,
says,
yeah.
say yes to everything, and it's this whole, cult of saying yes. So this guy goes out and he carries it to an extreme level. That if you're resonating with what Alicia and I are talking about, but you're sort of still feeling like, but I already have my schedule and routine and my job and my kids and my dog and the ear infection, all that. Watch that movie. And because that can be a starting point where you'll take what you and I have discussed, and it's just going to show you some funny and some poignant and some bittersweet manifestations of what happens when you start saying yes. So that would be one
Um,
thing, a movie that I think could continue someone in this thought process.
I love that one. I think I'm going to go with a book. I already mentioned To Sell as Human earlier, which I recommend that book a lot.
Yes.
Another book I tend to give people at a fairly high level is called The Four Tendencies by Gretchen
Okay.
Rubin.
I have not read that.
It
I'm
is
excited
around
now.
how people respond to expectations, both internal
Okay.
and external expectations. And I teach it to salespeople because it helps you read a room or read a person really quick to know how they'll respond to if you give them an expectation or if they have an expectation of themselves. However, if you are working on developing your own awareness for getting yourself to say yes more or to have more courage, understanding how you react and respond to expectations is an incredible power, because that is how you learn to self-motivate your way through or around your good and bad habits or your good and bad tendencies. And it's just such an easy way to manipulate them in your favor.
I love that.
By the way, the added benefit of that book is you can get anybody to do anything you want because you learn how to read everybody. There's only 4 different matches for how it can go.
It's
Four
amazing.
tendencies.
Okay, so it's called The
Killer book.
Four Tendencies.
Yeah.
And who's the author again?
Gretchen Rubin, Rubin.
Perfect. And
Yeah.
I will, if you're listening, I'll have that in the description as well. So now I'm excited because I am going to read that. And I love when I hear something compelling that I have not read yet. I want to jump into the future. It is October 2nd, 2035. What's happening in your life?
I love that. Man, a lot will have changed by then. We will have a full destination town developed by that point, which will be really
I
exciting.
love that. Okay.
More to come later on that.
Okay.
The commercial real estate industry will have a really large thumbprint from the culmination of the work that we do with Nucleus with our training launch, which is
Excellent.
our services companies inside of commercial real estate, and through the 7 Figures in 90 Days program. That's for all real estate agents, but because I'm in commercial real estate, it just naturally sits a lot more in that space. But it's like a high intensity boot camp for real estate agents.
Excellent.
Yeah, that those three collectively are growing quite a bit. And within Nucleus, we're really looking for that to turn almost a bit more into like a very large university style ecosphere of training options for commercial real estate. So
That
we're
sounds
really focused on the
fantastic.
next 5 years, what's going to happen there.
Okay. And you'll have probably a freshman in college or at least a high school graduate.
No, he'll be in high school then 5 years out from now because he's
No,
in
no,
fourth
10
grade
years
right now.
out.
Oh, 10 years. You did
Yeah.
say 35, didn't you? Oh, I only went 5
Yeah.
years out in my head. Yeah, 10 years out, he'll be
And the triplet chicklets will be getting their driver's licenses.
wild. Isn't that
They'll be like
crazy?
probably in driver's ed.
Crazy thinking
That is
about that.
crazy. That's
Yeah,
funny.
it's
Okay,
so
so
funny. I mean, 10 years just seems so far away, but it'll happen like that, Bridget.
it
It's
will.
yeah,
It will.
yeah.
And that's yeah. And that's why part of saying yes is so critical
Yeah, because you
because
can't go back and give them 2 years ago.
no, you can't.
I think as an investor right now, I keep telling my clients that are investors that I'm coaching for their portfolios, I'm like, this is the right moment in the market to be buying. You should be saying yes. Is it nervous? Yes. Are we timid about it? Yeah. Do we know that this is the absolute bottom of the market? No. But what I can tell you is 5 years from now, people are going to look at the market right now and wish that they had bought a deal.
Yes.
Is it the
I agree
absolute
with you on
perfect
that.
moment? Who knows? But is it a dang good moment to buy? Yes.
It's a dang good one. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I agree. And even would say for the most part, I could say the same on the residential side,
Yeah. Yeah.
which for a variety of reasons I won't go into now. The so I just think it sounds like you and your family, you and your husband, you living in your skin and your courage and your creativity and your professionalism, all of that. It's exciting. That's exciting. And I love the thought of a destination town. So
It'll be very cool. Have you ever been to Los Olivos in California?
I have. I
We're
have.
looking to build something kind of like that, but that's like an adult, like put on your wristband, roam around town, enjoy your weekend away style destination retreat here in Texas.
That sounds
And
incredible. I
everything,
love
you
it.
just scan your wristband, and it's very like art and music and creative and foodie and wine immersed, and we'll have like yurts and all sorts of cool stuff. Yeah.
Can I get a frequent visitor band?
Come on, girl, I got you. Yeah.
Okay, so kind of going full circle back to the very beginning of our conversation where you said, I'm going to move things back a minute. Let's go back from 10 years. When can everyone listening plan on possibly going to one of the acoustic concerts at your Roadhouse in Burton?
We just got our liquor license approved today. We'll
Yes.
have our grand open probably in the next 30 days. So come on.
My
You can visit
gosh,
us
that
at
is
orvieshall.com. And if you're ever interested in coaching or training commercial real estate, you can find me at aliciashepherd.com or at Ask Alicia Shepherd on Instagram.
that's amazing. Well, thank you so much. I hope you will. I know we said it somewhat tongue in cheek, but I hope that you'll be a guest again, because I do believe there's other aspects of, what we discussed that we could dive into even deeper. And if you're listening to The Inner Estate, I hope you'll come back again as a guest and listen to the next episode. Have a great day.